African sun has just gone down beyond the mountains. There's still a bit of a glow on the horizon. I've been here 2 weeks now. It's felt like at least 2 decades. That's not actually true. It feels like I arrived here yesterday. We've had an exceptional day. It's been just a little bit chilly, but very beautiful. We've had an amazingly deep blue sky with crisp air that's made the clouds look slightly ethereal, and I have a deep sense of wilderness woosah, if you like, and it's the word woosah is a word that Andrew likes to use when he's trying to film me, especially when I'm knocking his head off while we're chasing wild dogs. This evening we have a couple of highlights packages for you. The lions and the buffalo, the wild dogs, it's after that, and later on, sorry, somebody's pointing at me frantically. What? No, never mind. I think I was moving my feet too much. Okay, there we go. Sorry. You'll have to excuse my novice, my fairly novice disposition here. It's my first time in the hot seat, as it were. So we've also got the wild dogs, like I said, and then some of the stuff on the leopard dynamics that are going on here. So if you've got any questions specifically, but you can ask us anything you like during the course of the next few minutes or the next half an hour. But if you've got anything specific, especially related to the lions, remember we only saw the one male lion, and we've seen a lot of different leopard dynamics, and we've seen a few other things related to the wild dogs, especially that they seem to be looking for a den. So if you've got any questions around that, please fire them away. I think we may even have a question coming through now. Donna in South Carolina, welcome to the Fireside Chat. It's great to have you with us. You want to know what the leaves and bark and trees all taste like. Well, Donna, they don't all taste the same, really, so it's difficult to say. The worst thing that I've eaten since I got here, I think, was the soil of the termites that was climbing up a tree. And that is something I'm going to continue trying, because local people here tell me that it's extremely nutritious and very good for you. I'm so far unconvinced, but I'm going to keep trying. A lot of the trees are very bitter. They've got a lot of tannin in them. Tannin's the stuff that we find in sort of cheap red wine or in black tea. We've got a bit of a gas bubble there in one of the pieces of wood. So tannins are stuff we find in bad red wine or black tea. It's used to helps sort of stop our stomachs up if we're feeling a bit loose in the bowel. And for the animals, they have a lot more tolerance of it. So when we eat bushes, it tends to dry our mouths out quite horribly. Brent and Scott are about to join us, and I just want to say before they arrive how wonderful it has been here for the last 2 weeks, and I must thank you all for your contributions and questions, especially the little warriors there in the Dayton Children's Cancer Hospital of Ohio. I hope you're watching tonight, but it's great to have all the questions and all the comments from all of you, and thank you for making my last 2 weeks so welcoming. I think we have another question coming through. It's flowing thick and fast. Right, Jill, thank you for your question. You would like to know if my hair in fact did grow as a result of my rubbing Papia capensis leaves on it. The answer is, as Andrew will testify, I did a check with him earlier, no, I still have what in Shangaan is called mpandla, which is quite a nice description for the loss of hair on the top of the head and its migration onto the back, which is a very unfortunate side effect of my advanced years. So Scott and Brent are just pulling their way in now. I know we had a wonderful afternoon today. We saw a lot of buffalo, bachelor herds, which was quite unusual, huge bachelor herds, which I've not yet seen. I haven't seen that anywhere else before. Some of my other highlights have been driving around the reserve and being able to talk into the camera as opposed to talking to guests. And now that may sound a little antisocial, but what it means is that we get a far greater variety of questions from all of you, and that's really nice. So we've had a tremendous amount of questions. I've spoken about the mountains and the mountains a lot. I've spoken about different animals. I've spoken about trees and soil and plants, and it just gives you the scope of talking to all of you there with all of your broad interests is really positive for me, and I thank you for reintroducing me to the wilderness. I spent quite a long time in Johannesburg, or in the city, and while the city has its purpose, for me it was a not entirely easy place to live, so it's very nice to be out here again. Later on I will be playing a little bit of guitar for you if you'll tolerate it, but we have another question before then. Yes? Marianne, I see that you want to know if I managed to find some long pants. I am now showing you my leg, which would indicate that I have not in fact found any long pants, but you can see from that picture probably the illuminated thickness of the hair that is growing on my leg, and also the fact that it is the same width as that of the blacksmith lapwing, which means that I don't lose a huge amount of heat through it. If I was muscly like Scott, for example, I would definitely require long pants, because you can lose a lot more heat if you have actual muscles on your legs. I think we're ready to invite Brent into the... Here he comes. What a joy it is to see him. Hello, Brent.
I heard you've been doing some acrobatics.
Yes, I have. I have been doing some acrobatics. I bought a present for Brent.
Oh boy.
Brent, would you like to identify this for the viewers?
The Pterocarpus angolensis.
And what happened to you?
I tried to climb the said tree.
And then what happened, Brent?
Yes, my pants were a little bit tight, and I nearly fell out of the tree.
No, it was your pants.
It was my pants, definitely my pants.
Yes. So are you saying that there is an advantage to plover's legs and perhaps a slightly smaller stature?
Well, yes.
Hello, Scott.
Oh, sorry.
Sit down here, I think.
See you.
Yes, see you.
Okay.
Right.
See you, Scotty. Hello, everyone. See, James just wants to be on the highest seat on the log now.
Absolutely correct.
So he can look a bit taller than the rest of us.
Yes. Sorry about that.
Thank you very much.
I still haven't seen the footage from that, actually.
No, I did in fact climb the tree today.
So did you use a step ladder?
To demonstrate that I am in fact a better tree climber than Brent, despite his stature, which he likes to make a lot of. Anyway, there you are. You can keep that as a memento of our time in the bush together.
Thank you very much, James. It is one of my favourite trees. It is.
Yes, and the only good example of one here.
It is very true.
Lydia tried to kill you.
I will treasure this forever. Thank you, James.
Good. I'm so glad. So some of the highlights of the week, Scott?
Well, for me, it's been listening to a lot of your stories, to be honest.
Sorry about that.
And I think if we go back to one of the initial great sightings of the week, it was James and the buffalo with a lion that popped onto the scene, surprisingly.
Very, very lucky.
It was fantastic. I think Andrew still has slight nightmares about it. We had 27 buffalo charging towards the vehicle, which was very exciting. And then I just heard from Andrews, we didn't know what they were running from, and I just heard Andrew behind me going, "Lion!" And there came the great big black mane lion of the Matimba, and it was a real privilege to see him. I'm not sure what's happened to his brothers. And that's quite an interesting sort of thing to talk about.
It is. So I did a bit of research on the Matimbas today, and apparently they're originally 6. So it goes with those large lion coalitions we often find for some in this area. As far as I know, the only 2 we see regularly here, and the rest have moved north onto the Manyeleti. But I'm not sure whether they are still there or they've been pushed out and moved further.
So what's interesting is that I suppose if those lions were to meet up with each other, they wouldn't treat each other as necessarily territorial rivals, but often big coalitions like that do split up, which is quite interesting. And here they clearly have. But where the other Matimba male is that we've been seeing, I don't know. I've yet to see him.
There was a report, I don't know if you also got that, Scotty, from the guys to the east of us about where the Matimbas have gone.
I didn't hear about that, actually.
Okay.
Brent seems to be more tuned in with the Bush Telegraph than I am.
Yes, I spend a little bit more time talking too much around game drive vehicles. But they've crossed to the south into a neighbouring property close to the Sand River with the Styx Pride. as the last
Both
report.
of
Both of them, and that was yesterday that they crossed. Yeah.
Okay. So we haven't had any lions around today, which was a bit sad for us. We spent much of the afternoon and morning, but we're happy to be with you here, and we're starting to feel a lot better about it. And what other highlights were there for you, Brent?
Well, again, it's going to go down to you, James. So the wild dogs.
No.
It's definitely been your week. But Scotty and I were fortunate enough to be sneaking around the edges of that.
And helping profoundly in keeping track of them. Very interesting that extremely pregnant wild dog female.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Obviously huge territory sizes or home range sizes of up to sort of 450 square kilometers. So we'd be really lucky if they denned here.
Yeah, apparently they did den, or a pack den, quite nearby in the Manyeleti, and if they were to den even in the Manyeleti but nearby, there's a very strong chance that they'd spend a lot of time hunting in this area for a few months while they raise the little pups. So whether they den on our property, which would be first prize, or even nearby, we will be happy. The bottom line is that
as long as we get
will
to
need to
see them
get into a den fairly soon.
Yeah, no. I actually, when I first saw her, I thought maybe she had given birth until I saw the size of her belly.
Yes.
Because her teats are very swollen and she's obviously just about to start lactating. So please hold all of your thumbs and hold or cross your toes and all the other things.
Touch wood, rub your head, do whatever you have to do.
Hang a rabbit's foot on your kitchen door or whatever. Well, don't do that.
But no, I'll be
a bit morbid.
ecstatic if they are in this area.
So will I.
The poor cameraman will be getting up a lot earlier in the morning.
Yes.
No, you've got to be at the Wild Dogs at first light if they're on the den to follow them out and make sure you can stay with them.
And the puppies come out at what age? I think they're about 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
3 weeks?
3 weeks,
Yeah.
And then they're running with the pack within 2 months, just over 2 months of that initial 3 weeks of when we may be able to see them.
Yeah.
They'll be running along with the pack, which is an incredibly short period of time for them to grow up before they're exposed to all the threats, lion and leopard. And that is one of the reasons why the numbers of wild dog are low in this area, because there's a lot of pressure from other predators, as well as other reasons which cause them to have an extremely low population almost throughout Africa.
So Ron in Bonnie, Scotland, welcome back again to I know we've spoken before, I think. You want to know why it is, and thank you for your question, why it is that the numbers are so low, A, and B, are there any successful captive breeding programs in South Africa? Brent, do you know of any successful captive breeding programs?
There are a few. Wild dog seem to be quite difficult to breed in captivity, but I think De Wild have a relatively successful breeding program. That's the only one I can think of offhand.
But certainly the wild dogs have been reintroduced quite successfully to some areas where there is sufficient space. So, for example, on a place like Kwandwe in the Eastern Cape, which is a very large reserve, I know they've been introduced there. Madikwe is another very good example of a national park that's it's about 80,000 hectares, 70,000 hectares, and they've got wild dog packs there. So those have been very successful introductions, Ron. There are only about 3,500 to 4,500 left, if I'm not mistaken. And in the Kruger, at last count, I think there were about 400. I'm not sure. I haven't read the latest statistics.
And the Kruger's been quite interesting.
Yeah.
Because when I first started working in this area, they'd gone through a huge crash. So they were up around 450 to 500 dogs, and they dropped down to under 100 in this very, very short space of time. And it was at that time blamed on a combination of rabies and canine distemper, which are domestic dogs also suffer from, especially the canine distemper. But with wild dogs being such a tight-knit community and a lot of social interactions and touching and whatnot, a disease is spread very quickly through a whole pack, so it can wipe out populations very quickly.
So it's still tremendously under threat are our wild dogs. And in this area, I mean, if you think of the Kruger National Park, unfortunately, it's quite sort of long and thin. I mean, it's a huge area. It's 3.5 million hectares if we include the Mozambican side. But because it's so long and thin, the size of a wild dog territory is about 450 square kilometers, which is 45,000 hectares. So there are not that many packages of 45,000 hectares that can fit into the area. And because if you think of it focusing on the middle, you can't really have two home ranges right next to each other. You can only have them sort of lengthways along the extent of the park, and I'm sure that must make a difference, because I think the animals do wander their way out of the western fence. Yeah. We have another question coming through. I'm going to bat this off to two of the more experienced guys here who've been here for a bit longer. Mary in Arizona wants to know, basically, if I may summarize your question, and thank you for it, about the leopard dynamics in the area. Lots of changes going on, and I've got no idea about them, so I'm going to hand over to Brent and Scott for this one.
So, Scotty, you wanna take it? I mean, you were the one who told me about those two males calling very close to each other last night at Gowrie Dam.
It could have been males.
It could have been males.
But it could have been a male and a female. Now, the reason why I say that is because yesterday evening, one of the game viewers, Jors, who's a landowner in Buffelshoek and knows the leopards of this area very well, he bumped into Mvula on a road called Gowrie Cutline, which is very close to where we could share the audio of them calling last night, and a lot of you, the viewers who are listening to the Djuma Waterhole cam, may have also heard that audio. And there was definitely audio coming from two different leopards while we sat and waited on the dam wall and listened. This was all after drive, sadly. We could hear it was in two different positions, and I just assumed it was two males. But when we drove there this morning, we did see very fresh tracks of a female in that area. So who knows, maybe it was a male and female courting or having some kind of a conversation, but that we'll never know. But if it was to be two males, that could well have been Tingana and Mvula.
It is very interesting.
In the months that I've been here, Tingana has predominantly spent time further west on Arathusa, but as the months have moved on, he has begun to push deeper and deeper into the Djuma property, which is putting more pressure on Mvula to move further east, and we're experiencing changes about that. And there's Tingana who's getting pressure from the Anderson male, which is another male who's coming further from the south and the west. So interesting changes in the males' dynamics as well as the females, because Karula, who was the dominant male here on Djuma, tends to be spending more time to the east, and her daughter Shadow appears to be spending more time here. So there are all these interesting changes between male and female.
And on Shadow and Sindile, her young male who's with her, I've been fortunate to spend a bit of time with this week. Apparently there's quite a big consensus from Angie that Sindile is definitely the favorite or the prettiest and cutest sighting of the week, so thanks very much for that. So we're just having a quick look at a clip now of Sindile. He's got quite a little interesting attitude developing, a sort of personality. He sort of stalks quite stealthily around the vehicles, looks at you, a little bit of almost disdain for the vehicles, but quite interesting to watch his character develop as he gets a bit older. But also, the reason Shadow and Sindile, and we're seeing more of them now, and further into what was traditionally Karula's territory, could also be down to those male leopard dynamics changing. With that new male, Anderson male, who I haven't seen, and I know very little about. All I know is he's quite a big male, and he's been pushing in on Tingana's territory. And if Shadow did not have a cub, there's a strong possibility she would actually actively seek him out to mate with him, as he is a dominant male coming into the territory. But because she's got a cub that's of that age, about 8.5, 9 months now, she's moving further east to try protect that cub from a new male coming in. Because if he comes in, he would definitely kill that young male leopard to get her to come into estrus so he could mate and sire her next set of cubs. So that is a possibility why Shadow might be moving further and further into what is traditionally Karula's territory.
Now, Brent, when I first saw that leopard, I thought he looked quite big for an 8-month-old. And then on asking some of the viewers today, some of them said that he was born in August. which would put him, is that correct? Or
I'm not sure. I'd have to have a look.
so
but
that
as far as I know,
put him at about 10 months, which is quite nice, because it would mean that he's got a greater chance, if this new male does come into the area, he's probably got a greater chance of living, right?
I would guess so, yes.
Yeah.
So maybe you guys can check. You guys can check on that for us. When was Sindile actually born? Could you guys double check? Because otherwise we've been lying to you, and that's terrible. So you can double check. Just send your answers through to questions@wildearth.tv, or use the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter.
And you'll have to excuse us because none of us were here when he was born.
Yes. So we are slightly in the dark there. But I think this one, especially for James and Scott.
We're going to bat this one to Scott.
No, I think you need a bit of help there as well. So Connor in Denver would like to know how often James and Scott, not Brent, change tires.
Have you not had one tire change?
No.
Surely.
I haven't.
No, you are
Really?
I haven't.
Well, then everyone,
superior
tomorrow
driving
morning,
skills.
you'll see
Superior
Brent have
driving
his first
skills.
flat tire.
Yes.
His time is coming.
Connor, not very often since I've been here. In fact, in my vast experience of 14 days, it has been once. I can tell you that during my guiding career, though, I have changed many, many, many tires in my time. And you've seen the way that these vehicles, I hesitate to say on live television, we throw them around, but they do get thrown around quite a lot. And because of that, the tires, unfortunately, do cop a bit of damage. But otherwise, we wouldn't be able to see the wild dogs and leopards and lions that we do. How many have you changed since you've been here, Scott?
It was interesting. I survived about 2 months, and I was thinking to myself, surely my time is coming. I have to have a flat tire with all the off-roading we do. And then within a period of about 2 weeks, I think I had 5 flat tires. Most of the time was with Jason, one of the cameramen at the time, who's currently at university, and we became master tire changers and record timing. And once or twice we even incorporated it into the drive. At that stage, only one vehicle I think was working, so you were with us through the whole tire changing process, and it was quite good fun. The only tricky thing is that we can't get the camera off to show you exactly what we're doing, but I guess it goes in waves, and sometimes you get lucky, but it's unavoidable to get flat tires out here, and part of the adventure.
Well, touch wood. I'll keep my luck. Hopefully my luck holds for a bit longer.
And we've had a brilliant question from Debbie here, who says she'd like to know what would happen if we had a food challenge at the FireSide. And I'm not sure what you mean by food challenge, so I'm going to break it up for you. Were it to be a cooking challenge, I would come stony last, completely. Scott is an excellent cooker of meat on the braai. Brent, I think, makes quite good cornflakes and milk.
Brent's very good at marinating the meat and preparing the food, but tends to lose focus once the food is actually on the grill.
So to be fair, he did cook an incredible roast last week, which we had to force him to go and take out of the oven because he was enjoying sitting around the fire after we left you. In terms of eating, Scott's good on the invertebrates. He likes to eat the sort of insects and things. I go with the soil and the vegetation. And Brent, so what's your sort of...
Well, I tend to eat out of the fridge in the kitchen. It's quite sensible. And James just eats all the seeds.
Yes, and I eat the seeds. Absolutely. That's the way it should be.
Well, folks, we've got great news, and you will see James beginning to shuffle around, and there we go. It is unveiled.
Do we need to give you a little bit more space there,
I think that what I think you would like to see, perhaps, is Scott and Brent doing a little dance later on.
I'm on the lookout for wild beasties that might attack us.
The song I'm going to sing you tonight is by the same fantastic South African artist I sang who wrote the song I sang last week. And this song is about an experience that I'm afraid many of you watching experience, but that we do not. And that's the experience of, especially on a Sunday evening, of waiting for Friday. And the song is called Was a Friday, which means come Friday. And the whole song is in the language of isiZulu, which comes from Natal or KwaZulu. It's on the eastern seaboard of South Africa. And the words go, "Where Baba kunzima kulom mhlaba." Hey, Father, it's tough here in the world. Where Baba lo msebenzi uphogile. This work is breaking us. Where Baba le mali angeni. The money is just not coming in. Sengathi leli viki lingaphela. I just wish this week would end. So here it is. Was a Friday. Was a my darling. It was a Friday, my darling. Was a Friday, lomsebenzi uphogile. Was a Friday, my sweetie. Was a Friday, ilanga linqonile wena. And of course, Scott and Brent are welcome to join the chorus. Unzima kulomhlaba we baba lo msebenzi uphogile we baba le mali angeni awungathi leli viki lingaphela we baba we baba we baba unzima kulomhlaba we baba lo msebenzi uphogile we baba le mali angeni awungathileli viki lingaphela we baba we baba awusithi was a Friday my darling was a Friday lo msebenzi uphogile was a Friday my sweetie was a Friday langa liqonile wena. We baba, kunzima kulomhlaba. We baba, lo msebenzi uphogile. We baba, le mali angeni awungathi leli viki lingaphela. We baba, we baba. Oh, was a Friday, my darling. Was a Friday, lo msebenzi uphogile. Was a Friday, my sweetie. Was a Friday, langa liqonile wena. Oh, goodbye, we are going now. Goodbye, we are going now. Team Wolomoni, Team Wolomoni.
For the sunset safari.
Team Wolomoni.
No, it's sunrise safari.
Oh, goodbye, I'm going was a Friday. Goodbye, I'm going was a Friday.
Bravo.
Thank you very much. So that was a Friday by the great Johnny Clegg. And as the fire starts to gently settle, well, I think there's
Ray from Scotland wants to know what effect your guitar playing has on the wildlife in the general.
I'm sure a very soothing effect.
It's very soothing effect. Although if we don't see anything on drive tomorrow, you'll know why. That'll be because I've chased absolutely everything away. Sorry about that.
No, but Ray, there's nothing to worry about, really. There's a lot of noise made in even the surrounding villages, the lodges, so the animals are fairly used to human-like noises, and they probably wouldn't even batter an eyelid. It's not a noise that they would be concerned about.
Not threatening or anything.
No, it's not a threatening noise at all. Really.
Just like you, not threatening at all.
And thank you very much for providing us with that wonderful song, James.
Thank you for listening to it.
And thanks very much to all the viewers for tuning in. It's been another wonderful week here on Safari Live.
Splendid week.
And we are looking forward to the up and coming week. There's a lot of excitement that will undoubtedly unfold.
And we hope you all join us on the sunrise safari. So I got a little bit confused when I was excited earlier, but the sunrise, not sunset, that comes after sunrise.
Anyway, thank you so much for joining us. The fire is going to be bolstered slightly. We're probably going to pour ourselves a stiff scotch each and let the logs burn away. It's quite a pleasant evening actually out
Beautiful
here.
evening.
So I think we'll remain out here for a little while. Thank you very much for all your questions and all your contributions, and we will see you a little bit later.
Bye-bye, everyone.